first of all, I worked as a stripper for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. It literally changed my life in a most unexpected way. And I'll get to that. There was healing that happened that I never would have thought would occur. I never would have done that, except for one, my blessed director at the time, who happens to be half Canadian, Indigenous, Indian, and half Jewish, said to me, I said, like, I really want to keep producing this. The play is really running, this is going on, and I don't have any more philanthropy, and this is running out. And I was getting some TV parts, but not a lot. And I kept rolling up against that anxiety still, even with everything that was going on. It still was not my friend. I could not make peace with that piece of myself. Of course, it was lessened, but it still would creep up and get in the way of an audition or something. Not to a point where I was able to freely be myself to the degree that I knew I had it in me, And so Lina, who I mentioned in the book, my director at that time, said to me, I said to her, I'm thinking, what if I don't know, like I could be a character as a stripper or something and make a lot of money. And then I could, hire all the technicians necessary, because it was a highly technical play, and, lighting and sound and, musician and yada, yada. And she said, I said, but I'm worried that I would lose my innocence, because I don't come from that. I mean, my parents didn't even swear, like, ever. My mother wore a tiny little bit of lipstick once a year when, for a very, very special occasion. It just was not how I was raised. And so she said, well, you're from first of all, she said, Frannie, you can be an innocent stripper. And I was like, what? And she said, I can't remember exactly how she phrased it, but it's in the book. And she did say, I grew up on, you may have grown up on the right side of the tracks, but I didn't. And you're going to be okay. You're going to make a bucket of money, and you know who you are. That's what she said. You know who you are. And that's all that matters. And so what I did is I brought pictures of my family and reviews and stuff with me. And I perfected a Brighton accent, because one of my closest darling girlfriends lived in Brighton. She's actually a Londoner, and very posh accent, the London one. And so she would perfect it with me long distance on the phone. And I had this whole thing. I pretended because by then, as I'd mentioned earlier, I was a little bit known through the media and stuff. And a lot of people in the entertainment business, go to these clubs, I'd found out. So I didn't want anyone to think, is that little Frannie Sheridan who does the Waltonstein's play, was getting all this, you know what I mean? And I was working with Arthur Hiller. Oh, I would have been mortified. So plus, of course, it was armor. So I had a wig and I had an accent, and nobody knew who I was. And I thought, in between stripping, I will just rewrite the play and revise it and use my creativity, channel it, and I'll look at it as a workout. I've been trained as a jazz ballet dancer. I thought, it's a workout. And I was 39 years old. I mean, it's not like I was a little 20-year-old kid. I was 39 years old. So, I thought, if I'm ever going to do this, it would be now, probably, the way that law of gravity, that's just the deal. So I, for some reason, was able to still do it at that age. Good genes, thanks, mama. And I was terrified. Now, Ray, I had never been to a strip club, of course, so I went to audition at one, because you have to do that. And it was freaky, I'll tell you. But I spoke the whole time on and off stage with this British accent. And studied a lot of Britishisms and that from my friend. And so that gave me a certain confidence, I was in a character. And but it was really super scary. And as a matter of fact, and I think I depicted this in the memoir, during one of the times that I was heading towards one of these places, I met and sat, I think it was on a bus, sat next to somebody who I ended up speaking with, because I wasn't, I was just being myself on the way there, and had heard a CBC radio, I think I sent that to you, documentary that had just been produced about my work. So it came too close to home. So that actually made me decide that even off stage, I would maintain the persona. It was a gift of sorts, I believe. but yes, it was scary, but it was also exciting because for me, going back to a day job in between, getting the occasional day job television actor gig or working doing stand up or something, which was not going to be enough to pay for me to continue producing my show. And, you know, it was depressing. It was really depressing to, I could easily have gone and worked as a temp, and done those kinds of things for years on and off. But it was depressing for me, and I wasn't going to make the money that I wanted to make to continue moving ahead with the play, which really had a life of its own. So it was, even though it was super scary, and it was for me, I kept hearing Lina's voice saying, you know who you really are. You know when to get out. She actually said that to me. If you need to get out, you can always get out. You can do this for a short while. And it was, I didn't feel scared there. There were, bouncers who would not let anyone touch you. I mean, some of the girls did, I don't know if you call lap dances and things. I never let anyone touch me because I intuitively felt if anybody touched me, it would do something to my so I didn't want it. So my boundaries were really super good. I had learned that the hard way, and that's also in the book. And so my boundaries were really, really good, and I didn't feel scared, and it was exciting to be able to be. Can you imagine, like, stripping and naked in front of an audience who had no idea who I was? But what I did is pretty wild because, these clubs are cookie cutter. They have like these robotic girls coming out doing the same thing. Many of them, by the way, are athletes who don't know what to do after. Some of them are Olympian athletes. And, I met amazing women, not, yes, of course, there's a stereotypical stripper and all that, but many archetypes that are, not what you think. But what they did do all the same is very much the same moves. And I was bored out of my honker. I had brought props. So I really was a Lucille Ball of strippers. I mean, I came out, I had a cow udder, a Velcro cow udder at I came out as a cow. I came out weird, and they were like, what the hell is this? And I didn't have standard strip club music. I had spiritual music and stuff. And, I heard comments from the audience that weren't always pleasant, shall we say. But I was having fun for the most part, because to me, I didn't take it seriously. I didn't think I was, like you asked, beautiful. I just knew that I was fit. And I loved to dance, and I'd studied dance, and I had a certain confidence around moving on stage and being a dancer. And to me, that was a lot more fun than working at that time as a temp or something, or, you know what I mean? And I was tired of looking for more philanthropy and writing more grants. And, so it was actually good, and it was a workout. But at one point, I stopped, and I was naked on stage, and I looked out at the audience, and I realized I wasn't scared, and I was totally naked on a stage in front of strangers. And that was, I mean, my hair is standing up. It was completely a wild moment. I did not expect anything like that, and I didn't even know what to make of it at the time, but it was extremely healing. I felt safe in my skin.